We are live. Super Terb Podcast. I'm going to be going here in a second. Got a big time show for you today. I'm excited. Just want to make sure I'm sharing it to my personal page before we get started. And make sure I tag. And there you go. All right. And welcome to the Super Terb Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Turbot, your local real estate expert out of the Raleigh, Durham, or what we like to call Triangle area, aka Super Terb, aka Coach Terb. And I can't thank you enough to join me today on my podcast. It's actually episode 15. I can't believe already 15 episodes have gone by. I'm having a blast doing this. I started this late last year where I talked real estate, business, sports, and local beer in the Triangle, but most importantly, bring on local business owners, sports coaches, entrepreneurs, what have you, to tell their story. And I've got a phenomenal guest today. His name's Travis Jack, and he is the owner of Flyboy Photo and Media. Travis started his company back in 2012, and many agents are going to know Travis. He is a staple in our community with what he does to help us buy and sell real estate here in the Triangle. He also helps corporations and businesses with their marketing and video content. So I cannot wait for you guys to hear his story, what he's about, and what goals he has for Flyboy in the future. Before I get him on the stage here with me, I want to just briefly discuss the real estate market as I do in every podcast. And one topic that's coming up a lot is Terb. When are we getting more listings on the market? As you know, we are at an all-time shortage, an all-time low with real estate. We have about a 0.7 month inventory, down 63% from 1.9 months ago, in the last 12 months, with an average sales price or appreciation increase of 12%. So my answer is I see for a few things. One, I think our spring market, which is on the horizon, may just be a couple months later than normal. I think people are getting those second vaccine shots or vaccines, period, to where they feel safe either leaving the home or having more people come into the home. I also think we're going to see more forbearance or deferred payments because real estate does always kind of lag and behind. And you may have people that have elected for forbearance and they're still okay in regards to the equity they have in their home, but maybe they're coming back and they're not making as much as they once were. They could have been furloughed or what have you, to where now let's sell our house, let's maximize this equity and either downsize, move to another home. But because of the fact of the low supply, high demand, they have the appreciation to make those moves. Lastly is new construction. I believe I just went under contract with my fourth pre-sale here of the young year. People need homes to buy, and we've been doing so. The more homes that are being built, then we're going to have the more inventory to choose from. So anyway, I cannot be more happy for Travis to join me on the other side. Travis, we'll join you after this break. And welcome back to the Super Terb Podcast. I'm your host again, Michael Turbot, a.k.a. Super Terb, and I've got Travis Jack as my featured guest today, owner of Flyboy Photo and Media. Say what's up, Travis.
What's up, Michael?
I hope you're doing well today, man. I just was actually discussing the real estate market, and maybe you can actually, touch on this as well, because obviously you do a lot of business in the Triangle. Before that, I'll have you introduce yourself in a second. But as I mentioned into my introduction, Travis started his business about 9 years ago, and it helps agents in the area with their photos in regards to listing properties, videos, virtual tours, and helps maximize the equity in those homes. As I tell many people, when they go into a home, it's really a second showing. And Travis, I can say, does all of our photos for the Turbo Group here. And what he does to help our sellers is unmatched. So in saying that, Travis, are you seeing a slowdown in regards to maybe how busy you've been in regards to maybe the lack of supply? Because we've had a lack of supply in the market.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely seeing a direct effect from it. We have a pretty broad client base. Obviously, we have you guys and a couple of the other large teams, but we do have a broad client base made up of a bunch of realtors from all different companies that kind of operate in all different price points. So thankfully, due to that, we haven't had a drastic fall off in our shoots, but we are noticing certain areas that we normally are very busy in have not been. One of those being new construction shoots. And I think the issue there is that the houses are selling before they ever have to really market them digitally. People are driving through new neighborhoods looking, see a new house for sale, make an offer. They, while it's still at foundation or studs or drywall. So obviously they're not needing photos, video in that respect for those.
Exactly. And so I actually just jumped the gun. I was excited to have you on the show, the podcast here. But before we go any further, tell everybody listening that may not know you, who you are. Obviously, we have your name there on the screen. And we're actually going to also have this little ticker at the bottom if you have any comments you want to share. And just tell everybody where you're from, or a little more about yourself.
Sure. My name is Travis Jack. I live here in the Raleigh area. I've been here since maybe, I think, 2006. I born and raised in East Tennessee, spent a small amount of time after that out west before settling back here. My wife is actually a Durham native, so that's what brought me, I guess, home to the Triangle, where I definitely feel more at home here than I have anywhere else. Prior to doing what I do now, I actually spent about 15 years in law enforcement. So did that, started the business up as a little side gig, and it just kind of took off, no pun intended. And once business got rolling, I had some tough decisions to make, and feel like I probably made the right one by doing this full time.
So you were in law enforcement and for 15 years, and then you said, you know what? I'm ready to start my own business. What took you, or what brought you into photo, like video? What made Flyboy happen? What was like that light bulb that went off?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny because I always enjoyed doing doing photography and stuff kind of as just a creative outlet or a hobby or something for fun. I mean, I had family members ask me to take photos at a wedding before I ever had any idea what I was really doing. So it was always something I enjoyed doing, but never something I'd ever given any thought to turning into a business. Back in 2012, I bought a small drone, and true story, full disclosure here, I basically got in some hot water with the wife for spending that kind of money on a drone on a police salary. And her ultimatum was, you better find a way to make that thing pay for itself, or you're sending it back. And
so when you bought the drone, was that just for hobby or just to have one?
That was one of those scrolling through the computer board impulse buys on Amazon.
That can happen.
That changed my life pretty much. It literally there was no plan for that to be anything more than a fun toy. And she's like, well, you're going to find a way to make this thing make the money back, or you're going to send it back. So still never really gave any thought to starting a business with it, but I did start flying around downtown Raleigh and some areas like that, taking photos, posting them on social media, tagging different entities like the Downtown Raleigh Alliance and the Raleigh Chamber and people like that. And after a fairly short amount of time, I started having major entities reaching out to me wanting to buy these photos. And of course, back then I had no idea how to price a commercial photo or anything. So, I threw a number out and they didn't even hesitate. They took it. So clearly I undersold it. But the big thing was in 2012, nobody was seeing drone photos. So it was a very new thing. I was getting angles of downtown buildings that the only way you could get them prior was to hover a helicopter over, a very crowded area, which is not safe or illegal. So people started seeing that and saying, hey, there's something new here. And I just kind of, took that and ran with it. So in the beginning, the business was born as Flyboy Aerial Photography. And, in the very beginning, and oddly enough, if you look over everything's reversed here, but if you look here where I'm pointing, that black drone on the sign is actually the very first drone that I bought that, gave the ultimatum that in turn gave birth to Flyboy. So
I love it, man.
Yeah, once that drone was no longer capable of delivering, drone technology has advanced probably. It's gone through 10 evolution cycles in the last 9 years. So what was really high quality in 2012 is very, 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 very poor quality by today's standards. So after about a year or two, that drone became obsolete and had to be replaced.
Very cool. That's awesome. So when you started with Flyboy Aerial, was there any hesitation of saying, I'm going to make this work? Was there any thoughts of having to go back to another job per se?
Well, so I started it in 2012 as just a little fun sharing business, make some side money. My wife was actually a victim of the 2009 financial crisis, and she had lost her long-term job then, and she had taken several jobs and then settled working at a very small real estate firm doing some of their marketing. And she made the suggestion that, maybe you should come, shoot our listings. I think this would be a neat addition, especially listings with land and that sort of thing. So once I shot a couple listings for them, and they were very happy with the result, very kind of blown away that, prior to that, they had spent thousands of dollars to get a helicopter or airplane to go up and shoot land. And now they could do it for, a few $100s. Then we kind of evolved into, well, it can't just be that. So maybe we need to offer something else. So then we started offering regular still photography. And then probably about 2014, I said, hey, maybe we should start dabbling in video. And so then we started learning video, doing video. And then maybe 3-4 years ago, we also added on 3D. So the Matterport 3D tours and all that. And we've just continued to evolve, and we will continue to evolve. I'm never, and you know this from knowing me personally, I'm never satisfied with being mediocre or just the status quo. I constantly have to improve and build on what I do to always be the next kind of cool thing, I guess.
Yeah. And for people that are listening and may not be familiar with drones, for you to operate a drone, you have to be licensed, correct? Or have FAA clearance to maybe explain on that a little more, because I think some people get drones for fun, but if you use it for business, for photos, correct, that you have to be licensed to do so, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Even if you are using it, if you're not being compensated for it, but it is for furtherance of a business. So, as a realtor yourself, you might be thinking, hey, why don't I just go buy a drone myself and I can snap my own aerial photos and I don't have to pay Flyboy to go do it or someone else. Since I'm not making any money off of it, I don't have to be licensed, right? But the answer would be wrong, because that is in furtherance of a business. You are taking those photos to sell a product, being the house. So yeah, you have to be licensed by both the FAA and the North Carolina Department of Aviation, or North Carolina Department of Transportation, Division of Aviation. And it's kind of interesting because I was uniquely situated in the beginning parts of Flyboy, the beginning stages of Flyboy, to where I was working in law enforcement and doing this on the side. So I actually got a seat at the table with lawmakers and with some of the people that were putting these policies into place. I've had meetings with, North Carolina DOT, several lawmakers, the founder of Red Hat, all these other entities that were looking at getting into drones way back when they were still a new thing. And I got to be there. I got to offer input. I got to see some of my suggestions actually codified in the law under North Carolina, in the North Carolina law.
That's awesome. So when you started, it was just you, right?
Correct. Yeah, it was just me. Like I said, a big chunk, big part of it was my wife kind of giving me some ideas and suggestions on, hey, here's things you could, things we could potentially do, things we could offer. Navigating all that is entailed in starting up a small business is not fun or easy. And then figuring out products, services, pricing, how to deliver things to clients and all that kind of was just a work in progress. But yeah, back then it was just me and her. I was doing the majority of the shooting. She was doing the majority of the kind of building up our presence on social media and all of that.
And then fast forward today, how many do you have working for you now?
So we kind of are able to scale up and scale down. So we have right now 3 full-time employees, and then we have a network of independent contractors. And doing what we do, I'm not trying to go global, go nationwide. I'm here in Raleigh. I'm part of the community, and I want the money and all that to stay in the community. So I want to be, as big as we need to be to serve our clients, but also still have that small business feel. I don't want you to, you go on a website, book me to do photos, and some random kid with a camera shows up at the house, shoots the photos, sends them off to India for editing or whatever, and then they come back and you have a problem with the photos. Now you need them fixed, but because that kid didn't shoot the photos and didn't do the editing, he now has to contact the editor in another country. You got time delays and all that. I know some of the larger companies are dealing with those kind of constraints, and I don't want that.
Gotcha.
Everything you see, every bit of my work you see was 100% done by me and my local employee contractors. If it's on our website, if it's on our social media, we did it, and we replicate it.
Now, how many trucks do you have?
There's one Flyboy van and a couple other vehicles, but the Flyboy van is a single thing right now.
Is legit. I love the Flyboy van. You see them flying around, but what's cool is we get the same thing with our moving truck. Sometimes people say, we see your truck everywhere. We only have one, but that's the point of it. Mm-hmm. But when you're rolling in, I think that's a really cool marketing piece, especially for our sellers when I'll say they'll be rolling in and they're excited to see you. But what I love about it, bro, is that you're predominantly. I know you have some people helping you, but you take a lot of pride and ownership of what you put out. And I will say this for any agents that are listening. I see it every night late. The Dropbox comes in, you update the files. I know you work with us, especially with all this rain we've been doing and all this moving parts, but you do everything to help deliver on what you say you're going to do. And as I tell everyone, when I go into market and list a house, especially with how competitive this market is, the photos are everything. And some homes need videos, some don't. Maybe we'll touch on that here in a minute on how COVID affected some things. But the photos that when we put out there, to me, it's second to none. And our sellers are very happy. And that, to me, you get the multiple offers and high-end money. So we work hand in hand there together. So outside, you also do video. Correct. Other than real estate, what other things do you do in the community?
We do a lot. Both here in the community and nationally. We are a tiny company, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the fact that we're a small company with a couple employees and a couple contractors, and I have shot national brand TV commercials. I've flown a drone 6 feet from Michael Jordan's face. I've done a lot of stuff that a lot of people will never be able to say they've done, and I've done that all through a small business that I built and continue to grow.
Because you actually did the Jumpman video. Correct.
We did several of the Jumpman series that Jordan was releasing. We were actually standing there with him when he made the infamous "the ceiling is the roof" comment. And it was funny because we were texting the Nike reps, and as soon as he said it, they were texting people back in Oregon, and they had a mock-up of a T-shirt with that tagline on it before the ball game was over.
Within seconds, yeah, they're always
within 30 minutes they already had T-shirts designed. Ceiling is the roof, and had like a bunch of them, for Michael to approve right there at the game.
Pretty cool.
That's one of the things we've done. We've shot a bunch of stuff with them, and that kind of happened through us getting approved through a pretty long process, but getting approved to fly on all of North Carolina State University campuses. So we had to jump through a bunch of hoops to get all the permits and licenses and all that. And as a result, whenever Nike needed someone to fly a Nike commercial at UNC Chapel Hill, it kind of forced them into hiring us, but it actually was awesome because they hired us and then ended up needing some additional work done that they hadn't anticipated, and we own all the equipment, we own all the gear, so we were able to bring in this non-drone, all this other equipment and get everything that they needed done, finished on a very tight timeline. We shot, edited, and delivered a full-blown TV commercial in a day and a half.
That's cool. He actually had a comment. We got a fan, actually a good friend of mine. But, Jamie from A. Cole Realty, she says hello. Good friend of mine. And so you touched on this before, but what would you say? Now, you started in 2012. It was evolved over time. But when someone hires you, what are they getting? I mean, you touched on that briefly, but if you want to go in more, like what would say you'd separate you from competition?
Well, for one, we do everything in-house. We're able to do everything. So when people are hiring us, a lot of times they're making that decision based off what they see on social media or on our website and all of that. You're not going to go on there and find any stock photos. You can go on any photo of there, send me an email. I'll tell you exactly what listing it's from, so you can pull it up on MLS and look at it for yourself. So you're getting the authenticity of everything you see is ours. We don't have any stock photos, any stock videos, nothing that we're not ripping off anybody else's work and trying to pass it off as ours. Unfortunately, in the visual, digital content world, that does happen. People will misrepresent their abilities to try and gain clients, and I understand. I'll say I understand where they're coming from, I guess, trying to build up a business, but I don't understand the deception. I come from a background of doing the right thing for the right reasons, even when nobody's looking, and that's just kind of what I live by. You're also
a Jedi with your editing.
It sometimes, especially days like this, takes some work. I know on days like this that it's going to be a long evening in front of the computer, because every single exterior that can be done is going to need a blue sky, and we're going to have to do a whole lot of brightening things up and all that. But yeah, in addition to that, you get a one-stop shop for the most part. We don't have any desire to really bring on appraising and all these extraneous things. We do have a partnership with a local company that does appraising and all that. So if someone needs that, we can offer their services through us, but we want to focus on what we're good at: photo, video, 3D, basically helping you get top dollar for the property because it looked its best. I just in the last 2 weeks, I've shot multiple multi-million-dollar homes that have all sold in less than a week on market. And I can't remember a time over the last several years where multi-million-dollar homes were selling in 2, 3, 4 days.
Now, do you think that is also a result of COVID? Obviously, the lack of supply is, but leads me to my next question is how, when COVID hit us this time, actually last year, we all thought it was only going to be a couple weeks long. And of course, we've never seen anything like this in most of all of our lifetime here.
For sure.
How did this change your business model structure? I know with us, you had some different rules that, had to enforce, but, you didn't skip a beat in regards to if the sellers had to just step out of the house briefly so you could do your thing. But maybe you can elaborate more with everyone listening on how you had to adjust on that and continue to produce what you do.
Sure. Yeah. Like everyone else, it kind of threw us for a loop because we had to start really looking at, okay, what is important? What is the risk that we're willing to accept? And to me, I didn't want to be responsible for any risk to either myself, my employees, my agents, the homeowners. I didn't want to be able to not go to bed at night because I potentially exposed someone to this, horrible virus. So we had to kind of look at, okay, what can we do to limit risk? And of course, having people out of homes, making sure that there's a little buffer between when they left and when we show up. Not we get there, knock on the door, and they walk outside, because at that we're essentially still breathing the same air. So there was that kind of couple weeks there in the beginning. We were all being told 2 weeks, flatten the curve. And then we all fairly quickly, I think most of us that are realistic, realized that this is not going to be 2 weeks. This is not going to be 2 months. This is going to be a while. Especially when cases started snowballing. And you were watching the news like everybody else, just kind of oh Lord, we better be in this for the long haul, because unfortunately it's going to be here. Obviously we're still dealing with it. So we put in place a pretty strict, we will not come in the house if anyone's there. We will not go in the house if anyone's been in there in the last half hour. And unfortunately we upset some clients, we upset some homeowners. And I just had to kind of put my foot down and be like, I'm so sorry, but I will not risk my safety, your safety, my employees' safety, because you don't want to, go sit in your car out in the street for a half hour while we go in and shoot your house. As far as what did it do for the business? We're fortunate in that COVID did not really have any negative effect on our volume of business. It definitely caused us to do more virtual tours, like especially Matterport and video.
Mm-hmm.
People that weren't doing video before started doing video. And Matterport, you know, people were doing that as well. So it was keeping my Matterport people very busy for, I mean, it still are, but not as bad. There was a period like April, May, June, where we were doing sometimes 50 Matterports a week. And that is a very arduous process to do that many of those in a week.
That's the 3-dimensional video or 3-dimensional virtual tour for people that are listening and maybe not understand that. Yes, you could actually walk through the house without physically being in the house, which is huge.
Correct.
So let me ask you this, man. What do you love about what you do?
Honestly, the biggest thing to me is the people and the relationships. I mean, I love what I do from a like technical standpoint. I'm kind of a geek when it comes to like learning the technical side of things and figuring out how to squeeze every last ounce of performance out of every camera, out of every drone, out of my personal skills as an editor, shooter, all that. So I love that it's kind of like golf, like you never really perfect it. You just always get a little better as you go.
I like that.
Yeah. It's just definitely a profession. If you think you've perfected it, you're lying to yourself. But I do really love the relationships, I get text multiple times a day, sometimes from agents, hey, how she shot yesterday, already under contract today. Thank you so much. I mean, I have agents that'll send me funny stuff like, hey, had you, waited in the muddy backyard, you could have got us 38 showings instead of 37, but, joking. But, that to me, just knowing that I'm helping you guys accomplish your goal, which is to help your homeowners sell their home. And COVID kind of has not been the most fun for me because I am a people person. I'm actually fine with the homeowners being there. I like to, get to meet them. Yeah. Find out their story. Where are they coming from? Where are they going to? Like, every transaction you guys do has a unique story behind it. I mean, these people moved here from wherever or moving away, or they just, situation has changed and they're buying a new house or whatever.
It's funny you say that because obviously COVID's changed the rules on us on them being there, but prior to COVID and hopefully here in the near future when we can, maybe get back to some normalcy, but it's like waiting, for, it's like Christmas Eve or something when you coming in, they're so excited for the photos to happen.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, they're ready to go, ready to see, then of course want to see it online. So where do you see yourself in 5 years? I know you said you don't really necessarily want to expand, but where do you see Flyboy in 5 years?
It's not that I don't want to expand. I just don't want to get too big to be the small business that we are. I want to still be able to have that personal relationship with my clients. I want them to know that if there's an issue or a concern or, praise or whatever, who to call, that they can call me and I will fix it and I'll make it right, whatever it is. I mean, it's very, very rare that I'll ever get a complaint on my work, but it happens. We all have an off day. If I have an off day, guess what? I'm about to have an on day because I got to go fix whatever I messed up. That's very rare these days that, like I said, that I even get a complaint. And most of the text calls, emails I get are, hey, just letting you know the house you shot yesterday is already sold. And, thanking me for, like I said, helping their client. So maybe in 5 years, I would maybe like to grow it a little bit more to where I can step back a little bit and handle, make sure that all the administrative stuff is handled in a time, being a business owner, there's a lot of paperwork and accountability and everything on the back end that's expected out of us that is not fun, but is unfortunately necessary. So maybe step back a little bit to, allow my shooters to do their thing to where I can maintain quality control and, see that everything that's going out meets our standards, but still able to increase the volume that we can accommodate. We're not at a point right now to where we're unavailable to people, but we are busy. So sometimes scheduling can be a challenge if we have unique situations where, you have owners that can only let us into the house like at a certain time on a certain day. sometimes that can be a challenge. And that's probably a challenge for you guys for everything, inspections, measurements, all that good stuff.
Yeah, we've had to definitely roll the punches with scheduling and things of that nature. And so one of the reasons I started this podcast, not only do I like to talk, as many people know, but I wanted to talk, obviously, give real estate tips, but most importantly, have local business owners, entrepreneurs. I've had coaches on, and just to get different perspectives as well as how they started their business. So you may have someone listening to this. It's going to be on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, so make sure everyone's subscribed. But you may have someone that wants to get into photography or video, much like you did 9 years ago, or even starting their own business. What advice would you give someone in that situation? What did you tell yourself to prepare to start your own venture?
Well, see, I'm probably a unique case there because I started my business with no intention of it being a business. And that's
so it just kind of happened.
It just kind of happened. I mean, it was really, I never intended to leave my career that I'd spent, the majority of my adult working life doing. I mean, I was very content there. I wasn't super happy with the level of income that we made, and was looking to increase my income a little bit. And that's kind of what led me to do this versus, I'm sure everybody's driven down Glenwood Avenue and pre-COVID and saw all the guys in the blue uniforms standing outside bars and restaurants and all that. I mean, that's what, in law enforcement, that's what you do to make extra money. Mm-hmm. You go work those extra duty jobs where you're away from your family even more. And, I mean, me, my family is everything to me. I mean, I've got a about to be 5-year-old son, and I couldn't imagine having to leave him, at dinner time to go work a night shift in law enforcement nowadays. I mean, my hat's off to all my brothers and sisters that are still doing it, but I couldn't even imagine, doing that every night or, whatever. So that I'm thankful that things have gone the way they have, and I don't have to do that. But if I were to talk to somebody getting into it, I would tell them, focus more on learning your trade. Learn whatever it is you're going to do. Don't focus on dollars. Don't focus on Instagram likes or Facebook likes. Become the best at what you do, and all the rest will fall in the line. Because, I mean, people go into business thinking they're going to get rich quick, and you and I both know that is not what being a small business owner ends up being.
I tell our team every day, it's the long game.
It's a marathon. It's not a sprint.
It's execution, but then patience.
Correct.
And I have to remind myself that every day, because we all want it now, but that's the name of the game.
Well, it's also a big part of it too is take ownership. When you do really well, be proud, but don't be boastful to a point to where you push people away. And when you don't have your best day, own it, make it right. I mean, think about how many times you see a negative review on a business, and how many of those negative reviews are because they didn't take ownership. If you mess up, we're all human. We mess up. If you go mess up and you fix whatever it is, and you leave a positive memory on the client, that probably does more than if you went in and just knocked it out of the park. You're exactly right. And
that's all great advice. And it leads me to my last question here that I love to ask every one of my guests on the Super Terb Podcast here. And because I love getting the answers, is what is the best advice that you've ever received, and by who?
Man, that's a tough one. I should have had you give me that one ahead of time so I could put some thought into it.
I like kind of seeing people's reaction. But
yeah, best advice I've ever received. Man, that's tough. I mean, it's along those lines. It's probably my grandfather, who is not with us anymore, but he was a small business owner his entire life. He started back in the 50s. He had a little restaurant inside a grocery store, and then had his own, chain of restaurants, and then service stations and all this stuff. And I mean, it's very simple, but what he would always say is, no matter what you do in life, always give an honest day's work for an honest day's pay. And that stuck with me, always do what people expect you to do. When you tell them you're going to do something, do it. If I tell somebody I'm going to go do whatever, whether it be in my personal life or my business, if people, you guys know, your mom, everybody that uses me knows, if I say I'm going to do something, it's going to happen. And if it doesn't, I'll go back and make it happen, but
and I can attest to that. I honestly, by the time, I don't know how long the podcast is going to go, but I feel as far as just the guests and episodes, but I could go back and make a book of all the best things you've ever heard and by who, or best advice, because that was great as well. So before we go to my last segment, which you're going to stay on board with me so we can feature the local beer of the week, tell everyone listening, of course, I'm going to tag you on all the social posts that I do, but just tell everyone listening how best to reach you, whether email, website, number, what have you.
Yeah, sure. Any of the above, whatever is your favorite way to communicate, it works for us. You can call, it's 919-720-2449. Website is www.flyboync.com, or my email is travis@flyboync.com. Any of those ways, if you go to the website, there's a contact form. If you want to text, call, whatever you're most comfortable with is what I'm fine with. Because I find that, I allow my clients to place orders however they are most comfortable for the most part. They can send them into our online order form. They can email me what they need. They can call me with what they need. They can text me with what they need. Because I know you guys are busy, and sometimes when you're leaving a listing appointment or whatever, you need to get those photos and video scheduled right then, and you don't have time to go sit at the computer and remember to fill out a form and all that. So that's why, I can't tell you how many calls I've gotten from your mom at 8 p.m. on a Sunday to schedule photos, for a week out, because she wanted to make sure right there while she's sitting with the homeowners at a listing appointment that she was going to be able to hold up her promise, which was, I will have my photographer here on this day at this time.
It's fantastic. No question, man. And I will say that if there is something where if you ever have to go back and reshoot something, that you do that and you make it all. I just can't. I've been trying to pin you down now for about 18 months for us to either do some sort of video. You know me with my videos or interviews, but this worked out fantastic, man. So I can't thank you enough. And for, again, anybody listening, I know you've got a great reputation in town. But if you're thinking about you need something, if you're in the market and you need photos, Travis is the guy to call or message. You will not be disappointed. So, buddy, thanks so much for coming on the Super Terb Podcast.
Of course, and I do want to clarify one thing, because I don't want to leave people thinking I have to go back and reshoot often.
No.
Typically, if I have to go back and reshoot, it was either bad weather or there was a staging issue or something's been repainted or whatever. It's
Great
very
point.
rare. Yeah, it's very rare that I have to redo my work because I screwed it up.
Well, the other thing too is you also take several photos for us to have options to choose from,
Correct.
that we go by. And so what I was getting at was the same thing, is that if something needed to just get redone or something that was out of your control, you by no means hesitate to get out there and get it done for us. So
exactly.
As well as everyone else that's here, because I know when I posted this preview, we had several likes and comments. And so anyway, I can't thank you enough, Travis, for coming on the podcast. So do you want to hang around for the last segment with me?
Sure. Let's get to the fun part now.
All right, man. All right, well, you guys stay tuned real quick break. I'll be right back with Travis Jack and my local beer of the week. And welcome back to the Super Terb Podcast. Again, I'm your host, Michael Turbot, your local real estate expert with the Out of Timber Group, Coldwell Banker HBW, in the Raleigh, Durham, or better yet, what we'd like to call the Triangle area, a.k.a. Super Terb. And I'm here for my last segment with Travis still. And I'm going to talk about my local beer of the week for many that have just maybe joined me for the first time. I also do like beer. And we have a lot of local breweries in our area in the Triangle. So I always like to either talk about a brewery, place where you can get the beer from, or a specific kind just for you to check out. So today I actually went to my friends again at Taylor's Wine Shop. I talk about them every week. Taylor's is been another staple in my life, in the fact that they've been a local business for about 40 years in Raleigh. They're in North Raleigh off Six Forks Road, across the street from where I grew up. Another place that I like to go is Dee's Bottle Shop off Falls of the Neuse near Wakefield Tavern. They do a phenomenal job as well as far as being able to get beer. They have drafts on tap, get growlers. But I went into Taylor's, Travis, the other day, because I always say I need to get a local beer of the week. And Gizmo Brew Works, which is in Raleigh, they have 2 tap rooms, I believe, or 2 rooms. One's in Northwest Raleigh, and the other's in Chapel Hill. I picked up this Inventor Series Apis. I don't know, it's APIS, but it's a honey bun pastry stout. I tried it last night. It packs a little bit of a punch. It's 8% alcohol, but it's delicious. You can go to Gizmo's website at gizmobrewworks.com. You can check out all the beer they have. What's that other beer? The honey wheat, Travis?
Yes, yeah, they have a honey wheat. Aren't they? Don't they do like mead, or they do like honey base, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the Gizmo, they put the B on everything.
Yeah, they do. And my wife Leslie, she loves the honey wheat, or that's her go-to. So actually, when I went to Taylor's, I bought both of them.
Nice.
So
yeah, that's
there's none left. There's none left of the other one. We took care of that this weekend. But anyway, guys, go check out Gizmo. Go visit my friends at Taylor's and Dee's Bottle Shop. Travis, Jack, Flyboy, Photography, and Ariel. I can't thank you anybody for coming. Yeah, Photo Media. Sorry, I got a little tongue twister there. But thanks so much for coming on, man. And for you guys next week, I look forward to having you on. If you are at all thinking about being on the show, if you're a local business owner, you're an entrepreneur, you're a coach, email me at michael@idaturbit.com. If you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, please subscribe, leave a comment. I would greatly appreciate it. Go to my YouTube channel at Michael Turbit, and as well as follows there. Can't thank you enough for all the support, guys. And again, it's Michael Turbit, your local real estate expert with the Ida Turbit Group, Coldwell Banker, HPW, a.k.a. Super Terb. And remember, who you work with matters. See you guys next week.